started, like we mentioned, this is part of our Learning Lab series. And this is something that we put on about once a month with our customer engagement team. Again, myself, Julia, Jenna, and Kate here. And we focus on kind of a few different products within our TDS Health portfolio. Today, we're really going to be looking at Primal Pictures specifically, and even more specifically, clinical concepts within Primal Pictures. So with that, we really want to kind of dive in deeper to exactly how that sounds. Clinical areas within Primal Pictures, it's not just an anatomy tool. There's so much more that you can do within all of this content. So that's really what we want to show you all today. Let me move to our next slide here, just to look at today's topics, like we just did, introducing our team here. Then we're going to take a look at clinical content within some various modules, and then Jenna will take it over and look at some updates and new releases coming within Primal Pictures. If anyone has any questions at any point, please just pop that into the Q&A. Kate will be monitoring that, and we can just interject with questions at any time. This is going to be a pretty casual webinar in that sense, that we really want to make this as custom for you all. And if you have questions after this webinar about content that you already have access to, or maybe you see something in this presentation that your institution might not already subscribe to, please reach out to any of us and we would be happy to assist you in a training session, exploring the resource further, customizing this content with your curriculum, really anything that we can do to further assist in using Primal Pictures to its greatest potential. So without further ado, I think let's jump in, unless Kate or Jenna, you have any other comments?
Nope.
Awesome. Perfect. So as you can see here, we are in Anatomy TV Primal Pictures. If you log into your screen and it looks a little bit different from what we're seeing right here, don't be alarmed. I have access to all of our content. So like I mentioned previously, your institution might subscribe to different modules. So you might be seeing all of this, some of this, maybe just one tile, but there is concepts within every one of these different title series that is relevant to clinical concepts. So that's just kind of a quick overview. I do want to also mention some IT and admin features just to be able to use the product, to its greatest potential, as I said, as we're going through this demonstration. So I will be highlighting some of those items as well. And the first one is going to be our cross-functional search bar at the top here. This is a great way just to be able to see content across all of your different subscription items. If you're looking for a very specific piece of content or piece of anatomy, you can type that right into our search and it will take all of the information across all of those different titles and give it to you right there. I'm going to start actually down at the bottom here with our clinical specialties. So again, you can see we have quite a different range of clinical specialties within Primal Pictures. We have audiology, otolaryngology, dentistry, dental hygiene, real-time dentistry, speech-language pathology, pelvic floor disorder, head and neck basic neuroanatomy, chiropractic spine, and urology. And the great thing about these clinical specialties modules is that it really spans a range of education. So this can be used at the undergraduate level, students that are just coming in and wanting to learn this content for the first time. Also, our dental hygiene module, of course, is very popular kind of at that sort of level of education. But this can bring you all the way through residency. So those who are, let's say, in a urology residency, we see this used quite often in that sort of sense. And we even see these clinical specialties modules used with practicing providers and kind of in the day-to-day healthcare world. So again, kind of endless options within how you can use Anatomy TV, which is really the great star of this resource. Today, just to kind of show some of the specific clinical aspects, I'm going to be going into our speech language pathology module, which I have pulled up right here. So just as a refresher of how these modules are laid out, on the left-hand side, I like to call this our navigation panel. In the center is our viewing panel, and on the right will be our text panel. So as we're going on to our left-hand side here, the two items that I really want to point out today is this heart with the heartbeat icon going through it, which brings us to our clinical correlates. Within this, we have quite a few different options, especially for SLP specifically, that as we open up these drop-down menus, it brings us to all different texts within here that will open up on the left-hand side. And the great thing about how Primal Pictures is laid out with these clinical correlates is that you can still use the animation in the center to be able to navigate and view whatever structure you're interested in having as a supporting image to that clinical correlate on the left-hand side. So you still, again, have that full functionality and feature of being able to move this image around, layer up and down, as you can do within all of our Primal Pictures modules. You'll notice that some of the clinical correlates also have links directly in that text. For example, right here brings us to this video link as well. I'm going to click off of this just so we can see something a little more pleasant as we finish the presentation. So again, just kind of some different links that can go all the way within those clinical correlates. Again, great supporting resources no matter where you are in your education, whether this is the first time you're seeing this content or you're using this as a refresher. It's nice to just have this all in one place. We also do have this patient information tab in a few of our different modules as well. So that will be indicated with this person with the sling on their arm. And from that, we can open up our patient info documents. We have those available in PDF and Word. So if we click on PDF, it brings it right into our browser to have this short handout document that you can download, save to your device, share this with students, users, etc. The kind of most common way that we see these being used, or just one of the ways that we like to encourage faculty to use this, is when your students are kind of going through this content for the first time, they're really trying to digest a lot of information and then understand, well, how would I share this back to a patient? How would I use this in my day-to-day life outside of school and outside of learning this content? This is really where that can kind of be a star of the show with these patient information tabs. You're able to see, digesting all of that information, how would you share this with someone who is not someone with an anatomical background, who is that end user and that end patient who needs to just know the most basic information? So again, this does not just have to be a document that is handed to a patient. This can be handed to your students in the classroom to be able to support them in their educational journey. So lots of different ways to use the content in Primal. This is just one of them. So going back to our speech language pathology module, again, we have some other different admin features on the left-hand side here. We're able to save our content with our personal profiles, which if you want further information on that, our team is happy to assist with you. You're also able to share by copying a link to this image directly, so you can share that with different users. And then we also have an embed feature, which can go directly into your LMS system, as well as being able to download this content, the images or the text directly to your device so that it can be shared and distributed in any way that you need for your educational purposes. So were there any questions on kind of this module or our clinical specialties modules in general?
Yeah, actually, one just popped up, Julia. How can you clarify how that this works with an LMS?
Yeah, of course. So with that LMS feature, again, most of our content within Primal Pictures is going to be compatible with an LMS. Wherever you see this cloud icon with the slashes through it, that is our embedding function. We're compatible with most major LMSs, Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, etc. All we need to set that up, if you're not already set up, is your LMS domain, and then it becomes as simple as clicking on embed text, product link, generating your code, copying that and pasting it directly into your LMS site. And from there, all of this content will be able to be accessible to your users right within your LMS course page. So they'll be able to still interact with that content right in front of you. If you chose to embed the text, that text will show up as well. And it just makes it so that there's one less step to have to go to anatomy.tv. It'll be right within your LMS page.
Great. And anyone on the call can contact any of us to set that up if they haven't already, or their representative. So we'll get them in touch with Primal and make sure that's all set up.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I am going to hop into a few other modules today just to kind of do a quick overview and again, show you all that there is so much clinical content within Anatomy TV, Primal Pictures, that you're not limited to just those clinical specialties. In our anatomy and physiology content, this is another area that really is kind of a hidden gem, as I like to call it. Anatomy and physiology, this is kind of designed as either an intro level A&P course, or what we see this used for a lot is a refresher course. So maybe you have students that are coming in that have taken anatomy and physiology a long time ago. They took it in high school and got credit coming in, or it's just been a long time and they need a refresher. This is a great resource to use as kind of that support tool for your students, your residents, anyone that is involved kind of in your world. Obviously, anatomy and physiology is the backbone of everything that we're doing. So it's nice to have something that is so simple to be able to provide to your users. This module is broken up a little bit different than some of our other modules that are more by body system. This is more of like a chapter book. So think of this again as an A&P textbook with all of our different chapters going through. And as we click on one of these tiles to open up our chapter, you can see I'm in cell biology, and this is laid out a little bit differently with a lot more text than some of our other modules. So we do have some different learning objectives, which again can be relevant for some clinical content depending on what area you're focusing on. But one thing that I do want to highlight is, again, you can see that heart icon popping up here. That is still going to represent those clinical correlates. So if I open up these different drop downs right here, you can see a lot of content within this as well, laid out a bit differently than the module that we had just seen previously, but still great information and great content that can be embedded, downloaded, linked, shared, etc. So lots of information within each one of these chapters for anatomy and physiology. And we also do have aging correlates as well. Again, great content that we really hope that you all can use and enjoy as much as we do. We're very proud of this. So it's a pleasure to be able to share this with you all today.
Julia, just some when you were going through showing the A and P panels,
Yeah.
uh, a couple of people saw that there's Spanish available, which is available for A and P as well as 3D real time. So that is, if you purchase either of those products, you have the Spanish available to you as well. And 3D real time is in other languages too.
Yes, thanks for highlighting that, Kate. Yeah, and to toggle over to Spanish, it's as easy as what you just saw on my screen. Just clicking on Spanish, we can open up one of these modules and every single item is translated into Spanish. So a great option there as well, especially for your users that are either learning this content for the first time or as a refresher. Really nice that we can offer that too. Great. So the last thing that I do want to highlight is within our 3D Atlas module. 3D Atlas is kind of our most cornerstone product within Anatomy TV. And what I do want to show is that within all of our modules, some of these different structures that you can highlight do have different pathology information on the bottom as well. So you can see right here, we have our masseter highlighted, and we do have that pathology information on the bottom. So again, just another area within Primal Pictures that is kind of unexpected, but we do have kind of that clinical information tried to be embedded as possible within all of our content within Anatomy TV. So just another kind of hidden gem that I wanted to point out to you all. And as a reminder, all those admin features will be the same as what we had just seen in those previous modules. So very consistent across everything, depending on what content you already have. Just note that whatever your portfolio might end up looking like, it will be very user-friendly for anyone to be able to understand where all that content lives and how to use it most effectively. Were there any other questions or anything else that either of you wanted to chime in on, Kate or Jenna?
I just wanted to pop in and say, because we had questions on language, and Kate, you had pointed out that Spanish is also available with the real-time resource. The real-time product also has the most language options at this time.
Mhm.
So that's going to include Spanish, Latin, Chinese, Portuguese, German, and Japanese, I believe, at this time. So if you are looking for some other language offerings for, different language speaking populations, that resource is going to have the most options right now. So just wanted to chime that in.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna. Well, on that note, I'm going to actually hand that back over to you. Thanks everyone for listening to what we had just spoken about today. And Jenna, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, thanks, Jules. So, I'm gonna continue on what Julia was working on, but I'm going to take a look at some of the other modules that we have and then also talk about some new material coming out. I'm also going to ask you all to bear with me. I have a fly in my window who decided to attend this webinar as well. So if you hear any weird buzzing, that is my new little friend. Perfect. Okay. So I am back onto the General Anatomy TV homepage, and so I'm going to take a look at one of the modules here that is called Diseases and Conditions. And so for those of you who have this, you may have been seen this before, but the Diseases and Conditions module is going to be really geared toward injuries as well as conditions and pathology as it relates to anatomy. So in here, you'll see that this is going to be sorted out by specialty. And so what we can do is we can select a specialty and then be able to take a look at diseases and conditions within that area. So I popped into cardiology, and then you'll see over here on the right-hand side, I've got a selection of different diseases and conditions I can look at. So I'm going to pull up an aortic aneurysm. What will come up here is a video that we have in here discussing the condition. And then down on the right-hand side, you can scroll down for some additional content that's going to break down some of the main vessels and different the main components of the injury, of the condition, as well as a description, some additional views, and then also they'll talk about some anatomical consequences, and then if there's material in here, some treatments of it. So this is something that I see utilized quite a bit at varying different levels, whether that be an undergraduate level, a graduate level, nursing programs, PA, OTPT, medical school. Um, so if you have diseases and conditions in addition to some of the other modules, I see quite a bit of people do some research into the actual images and the different models that to look at the different structures within, let's say, the atlas or real time. And then they use the diseases and conditions content to really look into that actual condition. I've also seen this utilized almost in a presentation format. So we'll have some students that will be, their faculty will assign them the role to go in here and select a condition and then build out a presentation with the content in Primal to discuss that condition as if they were presenting to a patient or if they were presenting to the rest of their provider care team. So just some variety of ways to use this from a clinical aspect, preparing for that clinical world. That's some ways that diseases and conditions has been utilized. Uh,
Jenna, before you go on, there's a
yeah.
question. How did you decide which disease/condition to offer? Is that based on prevalence?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'll be honest, I don't know the exact answer as to what the decision making was for the Primal team. I can ask and connect back and see if I can get some feedback for you all. I know that there was some degree of it being prevalence of, conditions that are seen frequently out in the field. But I don't know the exact decision making process of it, but I can check and then we can do in our follow up if I get some feedback as to how that decision making went.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Um, and again, Kate, if any other questions pop up, you know me, I won't stop talking. So yell at me and I'll take a look.
Sounds good.
So yes, so that's the breakdown of diseases and conditions. And then the next group I want to move into is going to be the medical learning outcomes, which was a recent release within the Primal Threshold. So we're going to pop back over to that homepage of all of our content. And at the very top here, you're going to see a section called Learning Outcomes. You can also access this if you do have this resource, but under the Learn tab, that'll pop you over into the Anatomy Learning Outcomes for Medicine as well. And so what you'll notice is the material that I'm looking at right now is a little different than maybe the standard setup from some of the other modules we looked at, where it was that, dashboard, viewing panel, clinical text. These are some of the little bit of different ones. So it's good to take a look over a little review through here so you can see if you have them where everything is so you're not missing anything. And so when we're looking at the medical learning outcomes, this was a project that was done in partnership with a variety of different specialists in the field to create these video lectures with corresponding material within the Primal resource that for medical learning. And so this was built out mirroring the medical learning outcomes for anatomy that are expected of a medical student. And so what you'll see is that we have this sorted into different sections. And then if we were to pop into there, you will see all the different lectures in here that are as an option. So I'll go ahead and pull up Dr. Michaela's right here. I'm giving her some preferential treatment because I've met her. So, and what you'll see that comes up is a video lecture here in the center. I'm going to mute it just so it doesn't just cover up my voice as we go. But so what this is these are going to be lectures that were recorded by these professional faculty members, these experts in the field, discussing this medical learning outcome. So she's going to be describing the boundaries, walls, and floors of the cranial fossae. And what you'll see in here is that we have these broken up into sections. So we've got the first, second, and third parts. You're able to pop through the learning lecture to see. You can also pull the transcript out of here if that's something you'd like to utilize. And then also as we move down, you're going to see these are the key structures that she's going to be moving through on the medical learning outcomes. So if you are watching this video and then you'd like to also work on the model itself while you're seeing her move through, maybe mirror her actions and do that, you can. And so what we have in here is we have the 3D real-time resource embedded into it, where you're able to actually pull that up here and move through it while you watch the lecture. Or let's say you want to go back and you want to play around in here, you can. So that's in here for you to utilize as well. And then as we move down, there's going to be some additional content in here. And essentially what this is it's going to be content from other modules outside of the 3D real-time resource, which is where all of these are going to be playing around. So all of the video lectures with the corresponding models, that's going to be in the 3D real-time product that they're using. But this is content in other modules that applies to the presentation that you're watching. So whether that's from the anatomy and physiology one that Julia took a look at, the Atlas resource, the imaging material, maybe diseases and conditions, that's going to be all down here for your utilization. So again, just varying different resources in here for you to utilize. And then by the end of this, if you move all the way through, you can mark this complete, and then it'll show that you've completed this medical learning outcome from your viewing, so you know that you've completed this one for use.
Jenna, there's a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you speak to the imaging section and how it aligns with the MLO?
Yeah, so essentially what to my understanding is that the imaging section in here, so this MRI sagittal model, we have some MRI imaging content in a different module. And so if we're talking about the boundaries, walls, and floors of the cranial fossae, they're going to have that structural, those relevant structures, if they're available in an MRI viewing, they place them in here so you can see that in comparison to the other images we're looking at. And so in the MRI module that we have, you have the ability to move through a model and also have that correspond with an MRI image. And so that's why that's included in here. I want to clarify that the additional content that is corresponding with each of the medical learning outcomes, it's different for each one. So it depends on what's out there for within the other modules if it's going to be included. So for this one specifically, we've got some MRI views. Like I said, some of the other ones, it might be a disease and condition video. So just dependent on what else is in the modules, that's how we put into what we put into the MLOs.
Yeah, the comment was, "That is awesome." So
Oh,
that's
great.
good to
Well,
hear. Thank you.
yeah, if you need imaging views, we have some of those. So if there's something that if that's something you want to look into more, let us know. We do have some imaging modules in here as well for review. That is the bulk of what I was going to cover with the medical learning outcomes. Is there any other questions or anything before I move on? Kate, did anything else come up?
Yeah, it says, "Did she say who this product is for?"
Yeah, so specifically, these are medical learning outcomes that were geared toward medical students. And so it's aligning with a medical student curriculum for the most part. I will say that similar to how Julia indicated, the anatomy and physiology resource is utilized as a refresher for maybe medical students, nursing students, those going into higher level from their undergrad. This I've seen utilized similarly for residents, those in transition programs, transitional residencies, utilizing this as a refresher for their medical school days going into a residency placement. So I would say this is geared toward a medical school, medical student level. If there has been some discussions with the Primal team of building out more learning outcomes, going into different specialties. And so if that is something that starts, we'll obviously let all of you know when those, if those go into development.
Yeah, that's it for now.
Perfect. That is going to wrap up my review of some of the clinical content that I was taking a look at. The rest that I'm going to go into is some new releases or some recently updated and released content that we have. I'm just going to make sure I'm good on time. So one of the things I want to take a look at is going to be the 3D real-time functional anatomy resource. And so for those of you who've had access to this resource, you might have seen what was kind of like the first version that was out for quite a bit. And I want to make everyone aware that now we have this updated to the finalized version for now. So the 3D functional anatomy resource is, sorry, the 3D real-time functional resource is going to be a combination of functional content and then also the real-time content. And so for those who have had some time in the real-time resource, you've seen that it's kind of like that virtual dissection. You can build out any model you want, you can make adjustments to it. It's not preset slides or scenes. It's something that you can actually fully create on your own, and you have full customization options. And then for those who've seen the functional modules, those are going to be focused, as it sounds, into the movement and the gross motor functions of the different anatomical structures. So what Primal did is they married those. And so they had a lot of people who would look at the functional content and say, this is so great, but I wish I could remove a structure and look behind it while it moves. And on the opposite side, for the real-time resource, people would say, this is so great, but I wish I could also see it move while I dissect it. And so they married those. And so here you're going to see that oops, I'm going to open my numbers tab on accident. So when that pops up, ignore it. You're going to see that I have my little, get out of here. Perfect. Let's move all my stuff around. You're going to see that I have my model doing a push-up. And so from there, what we're able to do is, let's say I want to take a look at this structure and I want to hide it. I want to make it go away so I can see behind it. I have that capability. I can continue to do that with any of the structures in here that I would like to. I can also ghost them out to see behind them if I don't want to completely remove them. And so that is how that functional content is marrying that real-time product style. In addition to that, you'll see that if I have a structure highlighted, I can also look into details that relate to that. I can also look at the gross anatomy of it. I can move into functional, and then there's also some goniometry in here. And so full customization in here, like I said, to mirror that movement to that virtual dissection style. You also have the ability to mock these up similar to the other real-time content. So you'll see in here that this is the text that relates to the animation that's happening. Then I also have the structure text of the structure I have highlighted. But if I move down here to my little pencil, you'll see that I can mock this up. I can draw on it, I can make arrows, I can add text, I can do all kinds of things in here to really customize this for myself. Um, and like the other real-time resources, this is not going to have an embedding capability because you'd have to embed the entire product into your LMS system and it would probably blow up your computer. Not really, but it would just be too much. Um, what we do have the ability is to take screenshots. You can also do that linking functions to share. So that is how you can utilize this. It just doesn't have that embedding capability at this time. But just wanted to point that out for those who have this in their collection or have looked at it and seen it being talked about, wondered what it was. This is what the 3D real-time functional anatomy resource is going to look like.
Jenna, there's a question. Can the user add muscles, nerves, etc. for the leg, for example?
So right now, all of the structures that you're able, and right now I'm in a full body view. So I selected a full body push up, but on the right hand side, which is really small on mine right now, but if you see over here, it's got all these different sections. So all the structures that you have the ability to add on right now, they're going to be over here. So whatever that you're wanting to add, check over here on this right hand side. They'll be listed in here. So if I wanted to look into, let's say, the connective tissue, which I'm having some technical difficulties, please forgive me. You'll see that in here, I have all of those options where I can select which ones I want added in versus which ones I want removed. So that's going to be all on the right-hand side as to what's available right now in terms of structures to add in. Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay, I appreciate the questions. It's nice when you're talking at a screen and people are paying attention. So that's good. Um, the last thing I'm going to move into is a new resource that we are really, really excited about that should be releasing in this fall. So that is going to be our embryology module. And this is just a quick little YouTube video that we have to review. So I'm just going to play it while I talk about the embryology module a little bit. If you have been some of the clients that we've been able to connect with at some conferences lately, you may have seen some handouts or talked to some of the Primal team about this coming out because we're really excited about it. And I've had a really great pleasure to work with some of the anatomists at Primal and talk about their project and the progress in this. So it's really exciting. But essentially, what's going to be coming out is an embryology module in that real-time style. And so what that's going to look like is similar to the functional anatomy that I just took a look at, and also the real-time product for that virtual dissecting and that full customization. They're applying that to an embryology style. And so what we'll have in the first release, to my understanding, is weeks 3 to 8. There will be 14 models that are released, and then I believe there are 3 models to potentially follow that. But at the inception, it's going to be 14 models. And what's also really great is the embryology module is going to show where the origin of those structures is, which for those who've taken embryology or teach embryology, we all know that that is such a huge piece, is knowing where that happens. And so yeah, that is the Billie Eilish video that wants to play. So that is going to be the new release of the embryology that is coming out right now. Like I said, I believe is the fall. But I don't have an exact date, and when I do, we will definitely communicate that to you all.
Yeah, and there will be a future webinar once that is close to release or after release that Primal will be hosting. So we look forward to that and inviting all of our customers to that as well.
Yes, and unfortunately, the Billie Eilish Birds of a Feather video is not included in the embryology module. But you all can find that on YouTube and unfortunately play it on your screen during a webinar if you would like. So that fully covers, I believe, the content that I was going to go through. The one other thing I wanted to point out that Julia touched on that I think is really great is that smart search feature. And so if you are someone who has a large selection of Primal modules, or even just a smaller collection, 1 to 2 modules, all of them, that feature is really going to be helpful deciding content for you. So if you're trying to align material, that searches across all your modules. You can search within one, but that searches across all. And sometimes there's things hidden in places you would not think to utilize. So that's something I really encourage. She also touched on the curriculum mapping support. So let's say you have these and you're watching this webinar right now and you're like, wow, this is great, but I have no idea where to start with this. You wouldn't be alone in that feeling. We've had that happen before and we want to make it easy. So we have several faculty that we've connected with that they say, hey, I'm teaching this. Can you help me get a couple models to start or a couple places to go? And the Primal Anatomy team is so great. They are more than willing to scour the product and point you in the right direction. So we really want you to know that you can utilize us and them to get that going. And I think that's my spiel. That's all I've got.
Great. Well, after everyone leaves the webinar, there is a quick survey to help us determine what the next session should be. We have these monthly, so we're open to considerations, for all types of products that we sell at TDS Health. So let us know what you need. And then, of course, there's opportunity for one-on-one sessions with our team, depending on what area you're in. We'll connect you with the right person, but our team is very committed to making sure you get the most out of your subscriptions and teaching your students and faculty how to use the resources. So let us know how we can help. We're really happy to do that. So thank you, Julia and Jenna, for a great presentation. And again, reach out anyone if you need anything at all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.